Hello, Team FXG and everybody watching. Hope everybody's having a great day. It is currently 8:07 a.m. Wednesday, October 28th here in Vancouver, British Columbia. And it is dark, it is gloomy, and it is a standard October day for Vancouver. Okay? October is one of my least favorite months. October, November, sometimes December. Well, we've got Christmas in December, which makes it good. But in terms of like weather, because it's not like in Vancouver, we're the warmest climate here on the southeast and in Canada. And because of that, we don't really get much snow. We get it in the mountains. We have, four great mountains within two-hour drive with us. We have Seymour, Cypress, and Grouse, which is 45-minute drive from the city. Three great skiing mountains, and then you have Whistler, of course, which is a 2-hour drive. That was the Olympic venue for the 2010 Olympic Games. Okay, so we have snow up there, but rain down here. So standard Vancouver stuff. Now we're gonna get into it. What the hell's going on? Okay, in terms of currency strength. If you guys have noticed, if you're keeping track of the analysis on the forex gentleman markets, okay, what you can see is that we're seeing a ton of weakness in the Australian dollar. And why is that? Maybe we'll roll through the pairs, give you the strength of the pairs, and we'll talk about it. Okay, so Bitcoin seeing a positive 6.7. Okay, in terms of fundamental strength. The reason why Bitcoin is acting strong right now is because gold is extremely overpriced. Because and investors are looking for safe haven assets as liquidity starts to move out of higher risk investments, right, as the virus cases continue to spread. So Bitcoin right now will continue to see some strength until gold starts to relax a bit. Then we'll see investors move out of Bitcoin back into gold. When gold moves up, back into Bitcoin. It's just a cycle. And also, let's not forget yen and Swiss franc. Okay, the yen and the Swiss franc are positive 4.7 for the yen and positive 0.9 for the Swiss franc, which isn't necessarily strong. However, Bitcoin, yen, or Swiss franc are the only currency pairs right now on the strong side. Why yen, even though the Asian markets are closing up? Why Swiss franc? Because they're safe haven status. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, New Zealand seeing a negative 0.2, USD negative 1, pound a negative 1.1, euro negative 1.2, gold a negative 2.1, Aussie a negative 2.5, Canadian dollar negative 4.1. As you can see, most of the pairs are on the negative side. Okay, so the Australian dollar and the Kiwi are seeing weakness, especially the Australian dollar. We'll get to the charts here. You'll see the Aussie CAD analysis we had. You'll see the Aussie yen analysis we had and how they became invalid due to the weakness in the Australian dollar. Okay, so Australian dollar and Kiwi, what's their number one trade partner? It is Asia, right? So we have a lot of lockdowns in Asia right now and heading into Europe. That's going to affect the economic outlook for the Australian dollar and the Kiwi. Okay, now the Australian dollar is weaker than the Kiwi because we spoke about this before multiple times, but for those of you that don't know, the Australian dollar and the Kiwi are strongly correlated. Okay, they have the same trade partners, they trade with one another, they're strongly correlated. But the Australian dollar, Australia, is just a larger economy than New Zealand's economy. So when things are going good, the Australian dollar usually has more strength on the fundamental side, and when things are not going good, the Australian dollar usually has more weakness than the Kiwi dollar on the weaker side. Okay, so that's why the Australian dollar is a negative 2.5 and the Kiwi is a negative 0.2. Okay, then we have USD. We know US-China tensions, elections coming up like really shortly. Okay, we also have virus cases, massive virus cases. We have overpriced equities market, liquidity is moving out, which is why USD is no longer a safe haven asset. Okay, Euro negative 1.2. Okay, think about that. All the lockdowns. Europe is in a problem right now with COVID. All right, now Canadian dollar is at a negative 4.1, and actually Canada is handling COVID better than other countries. Like for example, we just had our Vancouver, British Columbia. By the way, Vancouver is a small city in a big province. Okay, and British Columbia, which is a province, like U.S. has states, Canada has provinces, same sort of thing. Okay, I think our largest daily case was like 120 new people a day. Like Canada is doing relatively good with COVID, but our currency is at a negative 4.1. Why is that? Well, because of crude oil, right? We know the shift in demand of crude. Now, also, we had, the reason why Canadian dollar is at a negative 4.1 today, even though the market has known for quite some time that the virus cases are going up, back up, and the supply-demand curve is going to shift, is because we finally have actual announcements in terms of increased inventory, okay? U.S. inventory in terms of barrels has increased 29%. Okay, what does that mean? That means demand for oil has gone down. That means that the supply has gone up. That means price has collapsed, which means that Canadian dollar will go down with it. Okay, so very important to understand the majority of the pairs are on the weaker side. The only pairs right now that would be matched, that would actually be on the positive side, are yen and Swiss franc. So if we're going to match any pair and look for actual direction, it will likely have to be now with yen and Swiss franc. Okay, so we're going to take it to the charts. We're going to start using gentleman markets here during the live sessions, okay? So we're on the charts. We're going to take it to gentleman markets, okay? Once you become a member of the Forex Gentleman community, you get added here, all right? Now, as you can see on the left side here, you get traffic light system, okay? As you can see, we have some traffic light systems in green. We'll go check out more of the stuff, okay? Now, CAD yen was a winning trade, okay? We're going to talk about that one. Let's take a look. Spoke about this yesterday. Should have had an entry, all of you. Okay, monthly time frame. What did we say? Here's our upper monthly zone. Here's our lower monthly zone. Here's our weekly upper, weekly lower. Just area of sensitivity. Here are lower lows, so a higher time frame downtrend. Okay, price made a push, exhaustion, continuational push, and saw buy pressure at our monthly lower zone for support. Then price moved to the upside with fundamental and technical support. Okay, so essentially what we had here was a push, exhaustion, what's next, potential continuational push. You can also call this potential double confirmation. Move to the downside, okay, re-injection of buy pressure. That's an impulse move. That's stop losses, that's take profits, buy limit orders, and then now what would be potential retest for second injection of buy pressure, which will happen because we know that at our monthly lower zone there will be buy protection, and then we can move for a higher time frame change in direction. Now the reason why this could be happening as well is because we have fundamental support. Let's think about this. Canadian dollar weak, yen strong, okay? So we know that there's sell pressure here, not only from what? From our weekly lower zone, but also from our higher time frame downtrend. So we know that the Canadian dollar without fundamental support is not going to be able to break this area of sell pressure to the upside. It needs that buy pressure. It needs it, and it doesn't have it because fundamentals are to the downside. So when we take it to the daily time frame, we saw, listen, once, twice, 3 times on a higher time frame, prices tried to break to the upside, failed to do so. Fundamentals are to the downside, so we're only looking for entry to the downside. So at the time that we placed this analysis, okay, we were here. All right, we said, look, price is not going to break to the upside. It doesn't have the buy pressure to do that. Fundamental analysis is to the downside. We then identified our daily mid-range zone, right? Horizontal sell pressure turning into buy pressure. So we said, look, if sell pressure is going to be able to break buy pressure at our daily mid-range zone, this is not our daily mid-range zone. This is our 4H mid-range zone. Okay, this is our 4-hour mid-range zone. This is our daily mid-range zone. So what we said was, if price is going to be able to, sell pressure is going to be able to beat buy pressure at our 4H mid-range zone, it's going to make its way and have free range to its next level of significant sell pressure, okay? So as we take it to the 4-hour time frame, all right, we'll watch it play out. Finally saw the break, okay? Now we talked about this yesterday, price action and entry confirmation, okay? So here we had the push to the downside, right? And we said, look, after a push to the downside, there's what? Winners enter at what? Completion of exhaustion, not at a completion of a push. And why does exhaustion happen? The reason why exhaustion happens is because sell pressure needs to beat buy pressure. This is a significant battleground right here. This was no joke. Sell pressure really needed to be buy pressure here at our 4H mid-range zone. That requires energy. What happens after you spend a lot of energy? You need to rest, exhaust, okay? You need the exhaustion. So we're on the 4-hour time frame and we saw price action confirmation, okay? This is a bearish engulfing candle at completion of exhaustion. That's price action confirmation, but that is not entry confirmation, which means we needed to wait for entry confirmation. Now, what did I say yesterday for those of you who watched the live session? What did I say yesterday in terms of what price action here at the bearish engulfing candle. So the reason why I was not super pumped about this bearish engulfing candle was because of the buy pressure that came in before the close of this candle. Okay, so let's make sense. This candle opened right here. Then we saw buy pressure, right, move to the upside, as you can see with this pin bar, right? Buy pressure moved to the upside, then sell pressure pushed back to the downside, and push, and before candle close, buy pressure came back in. So I know that this pin right here means that there's buy pressure before candle close, which makes me a little bit hesitant in terms of my entry confirmation. So that's something I need to keep in mind. So yesterday I said, look guys, we know that there's buy pressure entering the market. Okay, we know that there's buy pressure. We know here that we can identify here horizontal buy pressure as well. As you can see, this is a level of buy sensitivity. Our push ended here. Think about this. This isn't actually an area of significance, right? Our push ended here. Buy pressure. Then what? Consolidation in between our 4H and this level. This would likely be our 1 hour upper zone, okay? So we have price action confirmation with the 4 hour bearish engulfing candle. We're now looking for entry confirmation. So what did I say? I say wait for price to complete a push, breaking low. That tells us good, we're ready to make that move. What's after push to the downside? Minor exhaustion. Then what? Price action entry confirmation. Sorry, entry confirmation, which is right here. Boom. Okay? So we had, let me make this clear. We had price action confirmation right here. 4 hour price action confirmation. Bearish engulfing candle at the completion of exhaustion. Once we have price action confirmation on the 4 hour time frame, we then take it to the 1 hour time frame for entry confirmation. Price broke previous low with the push, minor exhaustion, bearish engulfing candle for entry confirmation. This could have also been a significant pin bar. Okay, that could have also been entry confirmation. And then what? We had a strong move to the downside, okay, to reach our final target. Okay, now, as you can see, our TP2 is placed exactly where it needs to be. Okay, and what are we going to expect here? A move to the upside. Before then, what? A retest to the downside because of fundamental direction. Why are we going to see this move to the upside? We're going to see this move to the upside because this is an impulse move. Say it out loud with me. Take profits, stop losses, limit orders, market reaction to an area of sensitivity. Okay, so after an impulse move, what are we going to see? A retest and likely sell pressure as long as fundamentals stay the same. As long as we have weakness in the Canadian dollar and strength in the yen, we will see price break our daily mid-range zone to the downside. And now let's pull it back because we may have another entry, right? So let's assume here what's going on. All right, we won this past trade. We made like 90 something pips on this pair, okay, which is great. All right, pays off the month rent, great. All right, so here we have, let's move up. All right. Now, again, anytime you want to understand what's happening, you have to pull it out because, again, if you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going. Okay, so we know that price is now reached. We talked about this entry, and we know that price has now reached our daily mid-range zone. This is our daily mid-range zone, right? Why is that? Because here's our weekly, here's our monthly, here's our weekly. What's after our weekly zones? That's right, our daily zones, right? So as you can see, this is a level of buy pressure, now then sell pressure, back to buy pressure. This is an area of sensitivity, a mid-range area of sensitivity. So in summary, fundamental directions to the downside. We know we're coming back likely for a higher time frame double confirmation. We know that we're likely going to see continued weakness in the Canadian dollar as the virus continues to spread. Okay? And what does that mean in terms of sell pressure? Well, this is a battleground, right? Sellers are now meeting buyers at our mid-range zone. Now let's assume because we don't know, but we're assuming that sell pressure makes that push to the downside. Then we assume that price comes back for exhaustion. And we assume we have price action and entry confirmation. Where is price going to make its way? Free range to monthly lower zone, which I actually expect to happen. Okay, and why is that? Because of the continued weakness in the Canadian dollar. I do not believe that crude oil will see the demand that it requires until vaccines are wide and spread across, and people know. Here's the thing too, I just also got to mention vaccine. I changed my stance a little bit. I said, listen, the market's going to come back to life, and we're going to see continued push when a vaccine comes out. Now, we've had early stage trial vaccines. We have a couple companies coming out with vaccines. All right. However, the resistance to these vaccines has been pretty high, and actually, rightfully so. We don't know what these long-term effects are of these vaccines. They're rushing these vaccines. They're trying to pump these out as quick as possible. So if they honestly require you to take a vaccine to travel, I don't know if people are going to travel. Me personally, I don't want to take a vaccine. Okay, now listen, I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. But the amount of shots that I used to take as a kid compared to the amount of shots that my kids will take in the future, or my nephew and niece are taking right now. I mean, they're by law, they have to take all these shots and all at once. What's happening now? More kids are coming out autistic. More kids have, stomach and issues and digestive issues. More kids are allergic to many things. Okay? I don't know. Okay? In my opinion, here's what I know. The companies that are making these vaccines and these shots, their job is to make money. They are a company. They are a bunch of scientists that work under a corporation. Their job is to make a product, and their job is to then sell that product. And their job is to make it as easy as possible to sell that product. That's why there's a lot of pharma involved in politics to get things passed through quick, without due diligence, without knowing how far and what the long-term side effects are. In my opinion, we're seeing more people be afraid of the vaccine than I expected there to be. And I actually agree with people. Okay? If I have the choice to travel and take a vaccine, or to stay at home and not take a vaccine, well, until I figure out at least, 2-3 years down the road that people that are getting vaccines aren't dropping dead, well, I'm going to stay at home. Okay? Because even the smallest vaccines can cause massive issues. Massive issues. Okay, so let's identify. We're still on CAD yen. Now we're going to find an entry to the downside. So for Team FXG, okay, you're going to get another analysis today. We're going to be looking for a move to the downside here from our daily mid-range zone to our monthly. Good win here, okay, on the 4-hour time frame. Good job. All right. And good 90 pips. Moving on to the next. All right. So next one, which I made invalid. Aussie CAD. Okay, Aussie CAD, we had a potential entry to the upside. Now, we didn't move this analysis yet, but what's happening with the Australian dollar? Think about this for a sec. What's happening with the Australian dollar? What's happening in Asia right now, right? Massive lockdowns, and Europe as well. Big trade partners gone. Economic outlook, weak. Okay, Australian dollar is seeing weakness, so is the Kiwi. Now, let's talk about this analysis. Before then, we talk about why it became invalid, and then talk about why we're actually going to stick with it if things happen, okay, that we require. All right, so on the monthly time frame, here's our monthly uppers, here's our monthly lowers. Price is now trading in between these two monthly zones, so let's focus here, all right? In between our monthly zones, what do we have? What other zones? That's right, weekly. Right, and in between the weeklies, what? Daily, and after the daily is a 4H, after the 4H is a 1H. Okay, you got it, perfect. All right, so we saw a tremendous amount of fundamental and technical buy support at our monthly lower zone, sending strength, right, with strength in the Australian dollar, especially against the Canadian dollar, as the virus is spreading across the world. We saw strength in the Australian dollar. Not an impulse move to the downside, none of that. Just boom, shot through our monthly zone, shot through our weekly lower zone, and is now only starting to see sell pressure at our weekly upper zone. And that has nothing to do with technicals. That has to do because fundamentals have changed, right? So here's that push. What's after push to the upside and exhaustion to the downside? And we're looking for a potential continuational push, okay? So that would be the flow, the technical flow. But that doesn't mean that's where we're going to look for entry because, well, first off, we have to identify what's happening on the lower time frame. Now, let's remember here, okay? Canadian dollar is the weakest, all right? We're seeing negative 2.5 on the Australian dollar and negative 4.1 on the Canadian dollar, which means that our fundamentals still to the upside. But as we take it to the downside, you're going to see a massive collapse in the Australian dollar. That's because there's liquidation, and I'll explain that, okay? So again, here's that push, here's exhaustion. What's next? Potential continuational push. When we take it to the daily time frame, we identified, you know what, I'm going to change the color of this so it's a little bit more stand out. All right, so here we have lower lows. So we identified a downtrend. And this is important because what it tells us is price buy pressure is breaking a significant amount of sell pressure, not only at its weekly lower zone, but at its higher time frame downtrend, right? So here's that move to the upside. If buy pressure is going to be able to make a push, that's telling us a lot. Think about the amount of sell pressure at this battleground, right? Not only with lower weekly zone, but higher time frame downtrend. Tremendous amount of sell pressure. Okay, so what our analysis was is very simple. We said, once there's a push, wait for exhaustion, continuational push, and we're looking for a move to the upside. Now, remember when I said to you guys, you could enter a completion of exhaustion at the retest of the downtrend, but I said, look, for me, I'm looking for high probability entries. I've been around this game for too long. I've seen things like this happen for too long. It's always better to have the higher probability entry and sacrifice a few pips than to try to grab all the pips and eventually lose. Let me explain. So, when price made a move to the upside here, right? This is a push. Now I said, look, I preferably would have liked to see price make a more of a separation for a push. However, we still have to classify this as a push, but we have to keep in mind that if price at exhaustion fails to see buy pressure and comes back to the downside, that this would just be a stop hunt. Okay, so let's identify. What I said was this. Take it to the 1 hour time frame. I said, look, here we have previous high. Okay, yes, price. Okay, sorry, I forgot to screen share there. I said, here we have previous high. I said, yes, price is coming back for exhaustion, okay? But what is the highest probability play? At price action and entry confirmation at completion of exhaustion, or if price can make a push, breaking previous high, and then come back for exhaustion with price action and entry confirmation, right? Exactly. So I said, listen, if you enter here, I won't be upset with you. But for what I'm doing is I'm waiting for price to break previous high. So, okay, let's identify. All right, so some of you enter long here, okay, fine, again, that's fine. But let's talk about what's happening now, okay? So we see price start to make a move to the upside and boom, we're seeing a push, right? This is a push. And why is this a push? Because buy pressure has broke sell pressure at previous high. Okay, let me just change the color of this so you can see it. Buy pressure broke sell pressure at previous high. This requires a significant amount of energy for buy pressure to do so. So now as a winning trader, as a profitable trader, what is your responsibility? To wait for completion of exhaustion and enter at price action and entry confirmation at completion of exhaustion, right? Winners do not enter at completion of a push. Believe me, there's a lot of people that were placing entries not only here, but then we're also adding additional entries here. Breakout traders were placing entries here. A lot of people are going to lose. Okay, so let me explain. That's a push. Now we're waiting for exhaustion. Okay, we see prices coming back for exhaustion because it always does. Okay, so now at this point here, we're on the 1 hour time frame. Okay, now I'm saying, okay, well, price made a move to the downside. We're seeing some buy pressure, so I'm watching carefully. And boom, at this point, I know it's done. Why do I know it's done? Because at no point should sell pressure be able to break beneath previous high. At no point, okay? We know that at some point, there should be an impulse move. Even if there is a double confirmation, there should be an impulse move. We failed to even see an impulse move. So why is this? If you should be asking some proper questions, right? Like, for example, a valid question would be, David, so you always tell us at area sensitivity that there's an impulse move to the upside, even if price is going to continue in one direction, right? And majority of the time, that's the case. But why did we not see it in this scenario? Was there no limit orders? Were there no take profit stop losses? No, that's not the case. It is the mass amount of weakness in Asian markets. Okay, the Asian markets have have fell. The Nikkei has fell. Okay, lockdowns have been coming over the last 24 hours. Multiple countries have announced lockdowns. Okay, the Australian economy is significantly in an issue. Okay, now with that being said, we're seeing a tremendous amount of weakness in the Canadian dollar. So this move to the downside here is what? That's a market reaction to all these lockdowns. This is money managers. These are organizations. These are institutions moving money around. So even though there is buy limit orders, even though there is stop losses, the movement, the liquidation of the Australian dollar made sure that it just broke to the downside. Okay? So this is the beautiful thing about entering at completion of exhaustion at price action and entry confirmation. Because guess what? What would happen here? What would tell us if there was price action and entry confirmation? Well, it would tell us that there was not a tremendous amount of weakness in the Australian dollar. Because we failed to see price action and entry confirmation, we saw price move to the downside. And what I'm trying to get at is, even if you do not pay attention to fundamental direction, if you stick to waiting to completion of exhaustion with price action and entry confirmation, you will still win more than you lose. Because we would not get a reinjection of buy pressure at completion of exhaustion if fundamental direction was strong and weak to the downside. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. That's the importance of entering at completion of exhaustion. So for anybody out there following breakout traders, let me tell you something. You're going to win a lot. You're going to lose a lot more than you win. And sometimes you're going to win. Every so often you win. That's what keeps you there, right? It's like the casino. 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose. But the one time you win is the reason why you go back. Okay? That's what breakout trading is. All right? So what does that mean though? Again, so we understand why our entry became invalid for the meantime. But does that mean that we eliminate this analysis? Absolutely not. And why is that? Because in the end, the Canadian dollar is weaker than the Australian dollar. Australian dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar, even though it is weak. So our fundamental direction is still to the upside, even though we have a market reaction to what's going on with the strength of the Australian dollar. So what would we look for in terms of entry here? Same thing, team. We have to wait for the push breaking high. What's next? Exhaustion. What's now? We have to wait for price action and entry confirmation before a continuational move to the upside. And what happens if price breaks back to the downside? Well, we're not breakout traders. We didn't lose. And this is a stop hunt, which is a higher time frame what? Higher time frame, pin bar. That's right. Awesome. Okay, so now you understand why Aussie CAD became invalid. Team FXG, we're going to have another analysis back to the upside, but conditions, as you know, have to be met. Okay. Next one. Okay, we're going to take it to Euro USD update. All right. Euro seeing weakness. All right. Why? Lockdown. Okay. So let's think about this. Fundamental direction last week was what? Upside. We were seeing strength in the euro and weakness in the US dollar. Our fundamental direction right now is to the downside. Actually, US dollar is stronger than the euro by a little bit. But why is this happening? Even though the US dollar is significantly weak, the reason why is because we know that, well, European lockdowns. Okay? Virus. This coronavirus is the reason why we're seeing massive weakness in the euro. Okay, so here we have monthly upper, monthly lower. This is our weekly mid-range. All right, so let's identify. Here's a push, exhaustion, continuational push, fundamental and technical support to the upside. What's important about this continuational move? Showing us a tremendous amount of buy support. Think about this. Buy pressure just broke right above the sell pressure at our weekly mid-range zone. There was no impulse move to the downside. Okay, so that's clearly a push. What's after a push to the upside? Exhaustion to the downside, where then we were waiting for a continuational push to the upside. Now, this continuational push to the upside is fine, assuming price broke area of sensitivity, being area of consolidation. Did price do that? No, it did not. Why? Because it did not have enough buy pressure to break area of consolidation to the upside, because fundamentals have changed. We're seeing a tremendous amount of weakness in the euro right now. If the euro wasn't so weak, we would have saw this push to the upside, where then we were waiting for exhaustion and price action confirmation for a continuational move. But now that's not the case. Why? Because fundamentals are to the downside. So until fundamentals shift direction, we're no longer looking for an entry to the upside. Now, question for you. Okay, this is a little bit of a quiz. Okay, well, by the way, one of the things that we're starting for the new upload on Gentleman Markets is quizability. So I'm going to be adding quizzes there. You're going to be able to answer all that cool stuff. Okay, awesome. Why are we not, question, and I want you to answer to yourself out loud, why are we not looking for an entry to the downside on Euro USD, even though fundamental direction is telling us that it is to the downside? Okay, and there actually is a technical reason answer for this and also a fundamental answer for this. So maybe take a second and think about it. Okay, so we'll start with the technical reason. We'll start with the fundamental reason as to why we're not moving to the downside, okay? So even though the euro is seeing weakness, more weakness than the US dollar at the moment, we're still not looking to the downside because that doesn't mean shit. Okay, the US dollar could go extremely weak. It could go strong. There's a lot of stuff happening with elections, okay? And it's not like the euro is much stronger than the US dollar to the point where, weaker than the US dollar to the point where I'd be okay for moving to the downside. So fundamentally, we know that things are going to shift. We have elections coming up. All these things are happening, even though, yes, the lockdowns will continue to happen and continue to spread past elections since elections are so near. That doesn't mean anything in terms of fundamentals when we're talking about the USD, okay? Technically as well. Let's think about this. Area sensitivity. We know that this is our 4H lower zone, okay? We know this, right? So if sell pressure is going to break our 4H, buy pressure, our 4H lower zone, it has free range to where? Its weekly zone. Is there much space here from our 4H to our weekly to play with? Not much. And also, it becomes riskier because the closer you get, the weekly zone is not a light zone. It's not a daily zone. It's not a 4H zone. It's not a 1 hour zone. It's a very highly respected area of sensitivity. So the closer you get to this area of sensitivity, the higher percent chance you have of a massive injection of buy pressure shifting price the other direction. Okay? So assuming, let's say hypothetically, now I'm just going to move our weekly zone, okay, just hypothetically speaking, okay, this is not where our weekly zone is, but I'm moving it just for an example. So let's say our weekly zone was down here. Would I be interested for a move to the downside? Yes. Why? Because there's space. There's some space here in between. There's some movement. We can place some TP1, potentially TP2. Okay, there's some movement. There's some space. But when weekly zone is so close, I'm not looking for an entry to the downside. Okay, I'm only looking for an entry to the upside. Now, why am I going to leave this target here? Because again, the euro can gain strength against the USD at any moment, and if price is able to break this level of consolidation to the upside, well, clearly buyers have control. And if we see exhaustion with price action and entry confirmation, then we know that clearly there's a re-injection of buy pressure, which means that we have a high probability move to the upside. So this is going to stay on the chart for me, even though at the moment it's become invalid. So when we take it to the charts, it's still red, okay? It's still going to be red, and it's going to be red likely for quite some time until we see price break consolidation, okay? Let's move on to Euro CAD. All right, Euro is negative 1.2, Canadian dollar negative 4.1. What does that mean in terms of fundamental direction? That means we're only looking to the upside. Will we see continued weakness in the Canadian dollar? Yes, right? As the virus continues to move. Now, actually, I kind of like this, and I'll explain to you why in terms of fundamentals. The Canadian dollar in terms of long-term weakness is likely going to sustain due to increased virus cases. And the weakness in the euro is going to sustain due to continuous lockdown, which then weakens the Canadian dollar. So in terms of the fundamental direction being long-term to the upside, I actually agree on this, because the weaker the euro get, that means subsequently the Canadian dollar is getting weaker, because the only way the euro is getting weaker is due to lockdowns, which means it affects the price of crude oil, which means the Canadian dollar is going to stay weaker. So in this scenario in Euro CAD, I actually like this fundamental play, The reason why, again, is because I like when there is some time. Again, the biggest risk to us is fundamental shifts in direction, not technical. Okay, I know technicals were fine, right? We only wait for push, we only wait for exhaustion, at price action entry confirmation at completion of exhaustion. All right, technicals were fine. The only way we get really fucked is if we're in an entry and fundamental shift while we're in that entry, and then our SL gets hit, right? So I like when fundamentals can be in one direction for a period of time, and I believe that EuroCAD will be for a period of time for the reasons why I said. Okay, so EuroCAD on the monthly time frame. Here are our monthly zones. Here are our monthly lower. Okay, price is trading in between. Now we have consolidation here in a large time frame. Horizontal sell pressure, right? Horizontal buy pressure. This is monthly consolidation. What we know is that even if buy pressure is going to test our monthly zone, and even if buy pressure has strong fundamental support, it's going to have a hard time breaking to the upside like it will, or to the downside like it does with any monthly zone, because it's such an area of significance, right? So what's in between our monthly zones? That's right, our weekly. Here's our weekly upper, here's our weekly lower. So let's talk about flow. All right, you can add all downtrends or whatever you want. Okay, here's a push, exhaustion, continuational push. All right, push, exhaustion, continuational push, exhaustion. What's next? Potential continuational push. Is price gonna break our monthly zone to the upside? We do not know. Probably not. And even if it does, it's going to be quite some time before it accomplishes that. Okay, so we're looking for continuational move to the upside. We know our fundamental direction is to the upside. All right, let's take it to the daily time frame. All right, what zone do we place after we place our weekly zone? That's right, our daily zone, right? So here's our daily mid-range zone. All right, let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So we know what is this? Higher time frame potential continuational push. We know that we require buy pressure to beat sell pressure at our daily mid-range. And let's say, assuming we see the completion of the push, exhaustion, and we get price action and entry confirmation. Where does price have free range? That's right, to its monthly upper zone. Now, as you can see, we're not having, our take profit is not, at our next monthly zone, because even if, let me explain to you this. Even if someone said to me, David, like some guru or someone who could predict the future, even if someone said to me, David, price is going to make its way to its next monthly zone. Let's bring it back up. Okay? So someone says to me, David, price is going to beat this monthly upper zone and it's going to make its way here. Would I still place a target all the way up there without closing the entry? No. Why? Because I know that price might make its way up there, but I do know that there's going to be a long time battle. So what I want to do is I want to close my trade before we see this what move to the downside? Impulse move, right? Take profits, stop losses, market orders, limit orders. Like, now let's think about this. A guy like me, where's my take profit? Right here. So again, this impulse move will also be fueled by a guy like me and people like you closing your take profits, closing your stop losses, limit orders, okay? So even if some guru tells me, hey Dave, price is gonna make its way to its next monthly zone, I'm still closing my TP here because I know that there's gonna be an impulse move to the downside. I just know that there will. And then maybe we'll get a retest and a push and continuational move. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So EuroCAD, push, exhaustion, price action, entry confirmation. Keep your eye on the signals channel. Okay, this EuroCAD is going to go yellow here any minute. Okay, I might actually change this to yellow after this live session. Okay, what's next? All right, Aussie USD. I think we went over that. We did, yeah. Okay, pound USD. All right. Pound. Negative 1.1 USD. Negative 1. Currently, the US dollar is stronger than the pound by a 0.1, which means that it's flat. Okay. Now, with this one, we don't need to guess too much. Okay. It's very simple. There's a lot of fundamental, there's a lot of things fundamentally in there with USD and pound. There's a lot of things that can shift direction. Okay, but for us, we're expecting long-term strength in the pound compared to the USD. Again, we don't know though. Elections are going to determine, and we're likely not going to see price either break this to the upside. We're not going to see price on really any USD pair make a significant choice in direction unless it's paired against another currency that's making a strong move, of course, until after elections. So if we see strength in the pound, that will be after elections. We're waiting for the push to break weekly upper zone. What's next? Exhaustion, price action, entry confirmation before continuation will move to the upside. So this one will likely be red until after the elections. Now, just want to talk quickly, mention a couple of the bugs. For those of you who are part of the gentleman markets community, you guys know the value that the platform provides, but there are some bugs, little things that of course are going to be changed and of course are going to be fixed. And then we have new updates coming with all these new things, and new updates are going to come all the time. A good company never stops getting better. So my goal is to once we've added all the updates that we've accumulated over the past 6 months in terms of ideas and what we want to put up, what I want to make sure is that we're continuously doing that. That's what companies do. If you stay placid, you die. You consistently have to update, and so forth, especially with tech companies and so forth. Okay, so as we take it to the charts, this is currently what's not working. When I place a signal, my new signals are not posted here. As you can see, 6 days ago, but obviously I posted signals since. So what will change is when I post my signals, it will post here. So you will see clearly just my signals, okay? Another thing too is when there's a signal by a verified trader, it will start to come up here. So the newest signal will be posted here, okay? So if you want to keep an eye on the traffic light system, you definitely have to go to signals and keep your eye on the traffic light system, as you can see here on the left side, traffic light. Okay, now another thing that's not working is obviously here, just like on the home page. Okay, when I post a signal, it's not being posted here, just little bugs. Okay, same with verified members. As you can see, the last signal was posted 2 weeks by verified members, but that's not true. Where do you go to see all signals? On the left side here, all signals. Now, you won't have signal management. This is only for me because I'm the owner of this account, of the platform. But you will have traffic lights and you will have all signals. You click on all signals and boom. As you can see, Dimitri has posted and Jason has posted today. You can view their analysis, okay? And do what you need to do there, okay? So even if you don't see the verified member signals, it will be posted here, okay? But this is the bug, okay? It's not here right now. It has to be on the all signals, okay? And now the channel, okay? The chat room is under the channels, guys. This will be labeled chat room, okay? And of course, there are some little things that will be changed here. All right, and we'll make this chat room also a little bit. We're also gonna add the chat room to the homepage to liven up the homepage as well. Okay, FXG Lives. All right. Now, FXG Lives at the moment, due to OBS, it takes a shit ton of time to download and render for me to then upload. So right now, the FXG Lives are posted about 18 hours after they're filmed. But this will be fixed. We're figuring out how to do it away from OBS so I can upload FXG Live right away. Okay, now here we have the market hours, as you can see, London and New York. Okay, useful. All right, now let's go to tools. Let's identify. All right, so here on the left side, we have economic calendar. All right, now you can mess around with this. Okay, you can say, look, I want to see what's going on by country. Okay, you want to see what's going on in Ghana, you can go see what's going on in terms of economic announcements in Ghana. Okay, so utilize this. Okay, market overview, market data, just some simple standard information that you would take. Okay, then you come down to Forex rates and Forex heat maps. Okay, this is useful. All right, I can see Kiwi yen or Kiwi Swiss franc extremely weak. Okay, I can see CAD USD weak, CAD yen weak, CAD pound weak. Okay. When we look at Aussies, okay, Aussies strongs because of the flipped on the weak side, right? So use this heat map. Understand. So for example, if I'm a lower time frame trader and I do my analysis, okay, I want to stop this for a second, bring it back. as you all can see, I am relatively a higher time frame trader. I look for entries only on like the 1 hour time frame. Some of you want to look for entries on the 15 minute, or the 1 hour or the 5 minute time frame. You guys are lower time frame traders. Now, there's a lot of you that are part of the membership that utilize my higher time frame analysis for lower time frame entries. But one of the things that I want you to start doing is you come to the gentleman's market, you take it to the tools, and you see here, look, okay, well, I'm looking for an entry right now, let's say hypothetically on Kiwi Yen. Okay, as you can see, I line up Kiwi and Yen, right? As you can see, JPY is here and Yen is here. So when you line it up, you can see a massive amount of weakness. Okay, you can click on it, you can see some additional information. Now you see some additional analysis on this pair. Remember, these people on TradingView, they're not professional traders, okay? It could be you that's posting this analysis. So honestly, I would suggest not even looking at this stuff. If you want, you can, of course, but don't get confused, okay? And so you can take a deeper look. But for example, I know here, Kiwi Yen is extremely red, okay? It means that it's weak, which means that if I'm going to look for a lower time frame entry to the downside, it's going to be now. It's not going to be when the square is green. It's going to be when it's red. Okay? Now, Forex rates. All right? Now, as you can see here, you're going to be the rates, the percent and change, the low, the high. But really what I would use this Forex rates for is this. Okay? As you can see, there's opinion. There's market opinion, okay, by numerous amount of people. Now, again, these aren't necessarily professional traders. However, there is a market opinion, okay? So keep in mind. See, like, for example, here, Kiwi Yen, extremely weak. It should be here on Kiwi Yen, a strong sell. Let's take a look. Boom. Here we see sell, right? Kiwi Yen, sell. All right, so we see weakness here, we see sell here. David's analysis is saying short, fundamental direction is to the downside. Now you guys are starting to see the value. Okay, Idea Hub. All right, take it in. This is our AI posting different news articles based on what it thinks that we are interested in. Okay, so the more that we post, the more it starts to refine the post. Okay, remember, you can view summary here before reading the full article. Okay, news, take it to the news. This is by Verified Trader, by FXG market research team, okay? So I would suggest coming to the news and taking a look at what's being posted here. Same with the blogs, okay? Some stuff by Verified Traders. Now, all right, so I believe that is it for today in terms of that. Now, one of the things that I will be doing here for members, starting next week, okay, the David Dotan show is going to be live on YouTube for everybody, and then half the show will then be restricted to only members. And what's going to be happening on the other half of the show, we're going to be talking about targets. We're going to be also going over verified member signals. So, for example, here, I see Jason, right, and Dimitri have posted, and we're going to be going. So I'm going to be opening their signals. I'm going to be talking about them, making sure, telling you whether or not I agree with them or not. Then we're going to be doing education. So once a day, I'm going to be having something prepared. What we're going to talk about education-wise, learning, whether it's fundamental, whether it's technical, whether it's price action, whether it's pin bars, downtrends, uptrend, zones, okay, Fibonacci, why we don't need indicators, all these things. On a daily basis, there will be an educational platform, an educational service. So starting next week, the David Dotan show will be live on YouTube for everybody, and then halfway through we'll have a break and it'll become restricted for just members. So if you wish to become a part of the Gentleman Community, members from 46 different countries around the world, I've been doing this for close to 6 years now. We have a solid team, okay? Then go to forexgentleman.com, sign up, and you'll be added to the Gentleman Markets, as well as you get Forex Gentleman University for free. So it is an 18-chapter course that I've done, and that is free with the membership as well, okay? And okay, so that's it for today, team. Hope everybody had a great day. Good win on CAD Yen yesterday. Again, remember, that's a beautiful thing, right? We start off with on Monday, we do our analysis on all the pairs. We narrow it down. Fundamentals will obviously change, so it then narrows down again. But the ones that we do enter, they're high probability trades. Remember, I'm about my winning percentage, and you should be too. I'm going to say this again. It's all about the winning percentage. Don't come into Forex expecting, how many questions do I get on a daily basis? Oh my God, I can't even go through my DMs anymore because of it. Hey Dave, if I invest $1,000 in your membership, how many thousands of dollars will I make by the end of the month? Okay? So, don't be an idiot. Okay, be realistic. Work hard and learn and understand that when you come to a new game, all right? So if you're coming to FX for the first time, you better prove yourself before you expect that big contract. Imagine a rookie going into a soccer game or into an NFL game or a hockey game and saying to coach before even proving himself, hey, I want the largest contract on the team. That doesn't happen. You have to win. You have to win a championship, and then the contract comes. Then the money starts to follow you. If your winning percentage is high, your account value starts to grow. Okay, if you're doing compound interest, your account value starts to grow. So let's say you start with a $10,000 account. You're risking 2% of your account to win $4,000. You're risking 2% to win 4, right? Because we have a minimum of a 1 to 2 risk reward. So let's say you have $10,000 and you win your first trade. Okay, so now you're up 4%. Okay, on 10K. All right, 400. So now your next trade is what? 2% of 10,400, not 2% of 10,000. So you're looking to win, you're risking 2% to win 4, right? I have a max, I say, by the way, it's a maximum 2% risk on per trade. If you're actually at a $10,000 account, I suggest 1.5% risk, but just for numbers, right? Let's say you win that. Then you're risking, what is 4% of 10,400? You're risking you're risking your next trade, you're potentially going to be at 10,900 and so forth. As you compound, okay, the money starts to come. Work on your winning percentage, and then the money starts to follow. Get where I'm going with that? Losing players do not get paid well. Losing teams do not get paid well. Focus on your winning percentages, quality over quantity. Okay, keep rocking Team FXG. I'll see you back here for tomorrow for FXG Live tomorrow at same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Okay, again, keep rocking. And for Team FXG, I want you guys to start chatting on the new chat room. I know we've been using Slack, but the chat room is now up, so I'll chat with you there. See you all, and thank you for joining me.